So Black Ops 6 drops in about 3 days, and I want to take a moment to talk about Modern Warfare 3 in this last year. Now, when this game first came out, I think I was kind of slow to get it, right? I was very hesitant at first. Wasn't really fond of it. It didn't really have anything that kind of caught my eye. I'm not gonna lie to you. It seemed just like a continuation of all the Call of Duties they've been releasing, and it was. For instance, once the game progressed a little bit, I believe they took out something like skill-based matchmaking. They didn't completely take it out, but they made it a little bit less powerful, right? And that completely changed the dynamic of how these lobbies were playing, especially for these last couple years. Skill-based matchmaking has been making these lobbies very unplayable. So to finally have it, nerfed in a sense, was actually really refreshing. Oh, I want that no-scope to hit. There we go. And I honestly can't be too upset with how the gameplay is. Like, yeah, it's still fast, right? It's not, very, very slow. It's still a very high-paced shooter. The movement in this game was improved, right? Now, I'm saying this with a grain of salt, right? Because they still need to do a lot of adjustments when it comes to movement and just the overall pacing of the game and stuff like that. Overall, it's not as cracked as it was, and I think it was Modern Warfare 2 or even the first Modern Warfare. Like those years was crazy. You guys, I'm gonna need you to spare me for a second. It's my first game on. I'm literally trying to warm up, and my lobbies do unfortunately feel like esport lobbies even without the skill-based matchmaking, which is why I'm saying what I'm saying with a grain of salt. Because yeah, I feel like no sniper's usually dominating the whole time. That's usually how it goes, and they just have a guppy lobby. We usually have our moments, and then when we hit our clips, those moments make up for us getting shit on the whole game. Usually, like look at what he's holding. There's nothing I can do about that. Nothing I can do about that. I can't. And certain things like that, when it comes to the skill-based matchmaking thing, I can't even really tell who's good or not, because the way that kid was moving, etc., his game sense didn't really look like he had the most IQ of what was going on. But he's holding this out of the mangles, and now that's the actual good player. This lobby's kind of sweaty. It's not even kind of sweaty. He's throwing stuns. Anybody running around throwing stuns in public match, you're sweating. I'm letting you know that right now. Oh, come here. Oh, that fucking sweating. Take a chip. Nigga, yep, I'm still leaving. I don't care. Still leaving. Now, that is 110% what I will say they can fix. They can make my lobbies just a little bit less sweaty. Thank you. At least put an easy mode or something, bro. Put a difficulty setting, please. Now, the Call of Duty community, it was somewhat on its toes about this, right? For a couple years now, they've been saying that the multiplayer isn't up to par with the Warzone. Now, if you ask me, they're 110% correct, right? The multiplayer feature in this is nowhere near as good as Warzone, right? They try by adding new guns and stuff like that, but there's only so much that they really do to enhance the multiplayer feature. The multiplayer, oh my god. The multiplayer, whoa. There we go. The multiplayer feature has been relatively the same for the last couple years and with no developments. However, they've did a lot to Warzone, and they've even came out with a rebirth. Yeah, it just shows you how much attention they've put into these new things, and they're not really paying much attention to the things that got them their fan base in the first place. Like, yes, a lot of these, new people are coming strictly for Warzone because, Warzone blew up, bro, and I'm giving them 110% respects for that because it changed Call of Duty, right? It somewhat brought a lot of the younger people back because everybody was going to Fortnite and the open world gameplays or open world maps, but they forgot about their core audience in the process of that. Their core audience wasn't going to Fortnite. Their core audience was still grinding out multiplayer, still just minding their business, chilling, right? When Warzone came out, it brought out a new audience. It brought out a younger audience. So then they started making even more adjustments to kind of suit to that audience. Now, I'm not saying they didn't have crazy movement and all these crazy things in the game beforehand, right? Because they was doing things like this in Black Ops 3. We've been having jetpacks and unnecessary movement. But it's just the way that the game was played, right? Call of Duty usually has a certain flow to this gameplay, right? There's a certain flow every Call of Duty multiplayer has. And when you have a certain mechanic or a certain ability in the game that isn't in flow with everything else, it becomes overpowered, or it becomes, what's the word I'm looking for? Almost like a it's a skill gap. You can strictly be better than somebody just off of movement, because you operate differently once you start, like, just simple things. You feel me? You just start playing the game differently because of your movement. It affects everything. Is there somebody under me? Oh, I was about to try trick shotting him. But there is somebody over here. He just wasn't peeking. This Call of Duty in particular, I feel like really paid attention to the sniping community, and I really love that about this series. They came out with the Moors, you know, the longbow. I feel like is probably going down in the game as one of the best snipers to ever touch. Now, I'm not talking about, you know, nostalgia wise, because then I'm obviously going to say the ballista from Black Ops 2, but when I say just overall just tanking lobbies, it was the longbow. It's most consistent, no matter how many times they tried to nerf it, etc., do all they wanted to it. It still came out on top, and it still dominates in most lobbies, which is why most snipers haven't put it down. He drop shot at me. Now, my expectations for Black Ops 6 is actually very simple. I'm not going to ask for a lot, because I already see where they're going with it, especially with their movement mechanics. I can already see the direction we're headed. I'm not going to say it's good or bad, but all I'm going to say is they need to focus on the multiplayer experience. You're doing all these things to enhance Warzone, enhance the multiplayer, figure out how to control the pacing of the map, figure out the map design, you know, just the timing, just the flow, the overall different guns. You know, the guns that we have access to impacts the way that we play as well too. It's all about a balancing thing. I see in this demo thing that they tried to release that they did a lot of stuff to movement. Coolio, right? All for advancements. But if you're going to be adding more movement, make the gameplay different. The damage certain things have in multiplayer versus what it has in Warzone is different. Something can be slightly more, you know, aggressive and powerful in multiplayer than Warzone, simply off the fact that the map is bigger. When the map is bigger, the gameplay plays different, just things flow different. So the opportunity to abuse all of these things kind of go down. But in such a compact map, man, we need to create balance in here. Hey, marker, get... It's weird, I don't think they've actually came out with a Black Ops 2 remastered yet. Dork. I know he feels crazy. He tried to push me with his pistols. Isn't that like against the rules or something when you're sniping? I remember Call of Duty used to be a sense of therapy for a lot of people, right? Now, with this ADHD kind of gameplay, and that's not to offend anybody, even though I'm pretty sure I did, and skill-based matchmaking kind of turning it up a notch, it makes it hard for you kind of to casually game, right? And wow, that kid is really nerdy. Honestly, my conclusion of this game, it was alright. It was mid. It wasn't nothing crazy. It wasn't nothing life-changing. I'm not gonna say it was a terrible game because I played it the whole way through, but I have to say that Warzone and Rebirth is saving Call of Duty. I want Call of Duty, when they're thinking about developing a game, when they're making multiplayer, think about if Warzone was not here. What would you have to do to this game to make it playable? Because that's really the only reason a lot of people play multiplayer, is because they're trying to rank something up, or they're just bored, none of their friends are on. Not a lot of people grind out multi anymore. That says something. I have hope Call of Duty will get it together eventually.